Our reporter crew has uncovered the following footage. No effects were applied. What you're seeing is real. Welcome to the Hermitcraft Recap. My name is Pixelriffs, our writer is LoyXP, and this is as close to a Halloween episode as we're gonna get.
Something ominous fills the cold night air. There is a strangeness that has never been felt before.
Let it go! Let it go!
And with that out of the way, let's execute Recap 66.
Are you sure? Are you sure you want me to do this?
I've never been more sure of anything. Let me have it.
Alright.
Starting with Zedaf and Tango Tech, just to keep with the season of the spooks. Taking advantage of everyone being on edge and super cautious because of the Demise game, the two of them don old sheets with holes in them, then power up on the invisibility potions and try to spook their unsuspecting server mates.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I've got a system, exactly. I guess I'll just kind of make it up. Like, I might just start, banging on things a little bit, giving things a little shake around, making some noise.
No one had the heart to tell them that they might be too old for trick-or-treating. They at least managed to mystify Rendog, who was building a tower for the Sahara Speedy Pines Raceway at the time, and suddenly found his scaffolding growing of its own accord and strange lights being spammed around the area.
Oh! I snowballed him right in the face!
Undemisable! He knows!
Pelt him with ghost balls.
But Ren ain't afraid of no ghost, and with the two of them busted, the tower gets topped off in Sahara colors, and it's looking mighty fine.
And I gotta be honest, man, it is one of my favorite builds that I have done over the last few months on the server. I think it's turned out absolutely amazing.
It isn't the only thing looking spiffy, as we get to see Ren signing up for Demise and pouring his diamonds into enchanted books to buff a shine onto his new gold armor. His strategy, apparently, is to accessorize as much as possible.
So we are going to be rocking a bling shield of the dog. We've got a totem of undying. We've also got rockets for flying. We've got ender pearls to get us out of trouble. We've got some golden carrots and a potion of instant healing too, just in case things get a little bit dicey. Trader? I'm trying to make a video.
Smash cut to TFC, whose strategy is to stay in his branch mine, although that might not be a Demise strategy so much as it is his strategy for having all of those diamond blocks in the first place.
You want to know how you come up with an insane number of diamonds? You get down into a branch mine and you work that sucker until your brain just about falls out.
And while he isn't about to start laying any diabolical traps for his server mates, he's content to mess with the fictional residents of his vault, checking in on the rooms with intermittently flickering lights, and adding spooky paintings to give the Overseer seasonal night terrors.
Heck with it, it's Halloween.
The server certainly isn't going to run out of pumpkins this time of year, especially since Impulse now has an auto shulker storage system built to contain his life-size field of terrifying squash. The terrifying part is how much lag it causes, but the sweet side is having 4 inventories worth of trading material and a farmer whose trades just won't quit.
So you could see he went through all these here, but this is basically, or is in fact, a whole stack of blocks of emeralds.
Having earned 2 stacks of emerald blocks in a matter of minutes, Impulse turns his attention to the rest of his base, in particular the potions room, which is still nice and productive, but in need of renovation. His construction noise is drowned out by Azumas, who, it seems, decided to finish the idea warehouse in one video and a sequence of time lapses. The outer shell of the enormous building had several unfinished corners and an entire roof that had to be spawn-proofed, which was accomplished once enough concrete blocks were thrown into the mix. Between Sahara and this, Season 6 truly is the age of giant, brightly coloured rectangles.
Trees. The unfortunate thing is, I actually kind of ran out of blocks towards the end of this.
At least when plotting out new shops for New Hermitville, B-Dubs is approaching his builds from a different angle.
And each one of these will have a purpose. They'll all be different shops. Oh yeah, I'm stacked.
During a shopping trip of his own to pick up some quartz and terracotta, Cubfan announces he's visiting the town, and B-Dubs races back to convince him to arrive according to the local custom, which involves riding a pig. The tour starts off peaceful, but it gets a little dangerous when Rendog asks everyone not to sleep.
Yes, bye. Oh, my guest! My guest!
It's only when Cub leaves, eventually, that B-Dubs realizes he might have accidentally cheated the Demise game by wearing his OP diamond boots, but only the boots, during that series of unfortunate events. He leaves judgment up to the viewers and his fellow hermits though, and settles for finishing his row of shops for whichever hapless tourist rides a pig into town next time.
Now, the Hermitcraft gods, they'll have their way with me. Am I a big cheater? I don't want to be a big fat cheater. I really don't.
Even if he's let off the hook this time, it might not be wise to accept a return tour offer from Cub, because Concorp has just installed a brand new drop trap for anyone exiting the main meeting room, a tour of which will result in death by fall damage.
And they die right down here, and luckily the totem came through for us right there.
It's actually a part of Cub's initiative to connect the boardroom to other important Concorp establishments, one of which only takes all the blue ice ever, the top gunpowder tunnel. Still, it's worth it, as the trip through it now takes as little time as going by Netherhub. The game of not dying inspires Cub to revisit mechanics he might not have played with before, such as Totems of Undying, something he's so happy with he made a whole trailer about it.
I've been set on fire, I hugged a creeper, I drowned, I was blown up, I'm an immortal!
Really, man, this is just asking for someone to kill you. And the instant escape route Chorus Fruit, which Cub builds a big underground farm for. Looking pretty nether orange there for an end-related project, but whatever. But Cub's best play in the world of Demise is going on the offensive, and so he tries to trick the server mates into killing themselves against a Ravager by setting up Dash for Cash, a sub-game of Ravager Run, where you earn diamonds by completing particular challenges within the Ravager Run minigame. Cub knows he isn't the only person with tricks up his sleeve, so he probably anticipated Joe Hills, whose sleeves are mostly filled with stuff designed to keep him alive in very specific circumstances. Some of these circumstances involve him hunting cobwebs in the mines below the Ministry of Truth, where a bucket of milk and a fire resistance potion come in pretty handy, fighting off cave spiders and wading through lava to restock his Halloween store.
Oh no, now the Enderman is exactly at eye level. I do not like that, Sam. I am!
There are some easier ways to find stock though, especially since people keep leaving these Grian costumes lying around. But having an inventory full of potions comes in handy when he decides to have a quick drink before taking on the Dash for Cash completely invisible. He still does a good job of dodging the Ravagers, and as we said, we're pretty sure Cub expected that. But in case he didn't, Joe uses his winnings to buy some banners from Idea and leaves you in no doubt about who's claimed the diamonds.
There we go! I can't imagine a better way to spend the first diamond block of my winnings.
His accomplishments are overshadowed a bit when it turns out the dash can be done perfectly without the aid of potion effects. Jevin happily throws himself onto the streets of Ravage and has a few close calls, but still makes it there and back again.
Oh, girl. The question becomes, how in the heck do I get out of here? Oh, Jukes!
Back to his snowflake fidget spinner, that is. Whole lot of concrete to place there, which is why Jevin puts together a miniature concrete mixer machine just to save a trip to Sahara. The skill of grabbing Cub's money will come in handy if Jevin plans to keep buying his flowers from the swell fellas at Idea, which he will need since now he contested his channel into restocking a shop that relies on that kind of stuff by selling suspicious stew.
Pick any 3 stews for 1 diamond.
The first winner of his viewer shop draw is the Deathly Delight store that sells you soups with a random taste. Clearly the best thing to open when half the server is walking around on their tippy toes as it is. It's not helped by the storefront being a giant skull. But can we go even more Halloween-y than that? It turns out we can. False Symmetry has been hot potatoed last week, and this time we finally find out her punishment. It turns out Stress Monster has signed her up for a personal jack-o'-lantern companion and a mildly spooky resource pack.
You need to befriend a jack-o'-lantern and have a mini conversation with them 3 times throughout the course of my next episode. Wait, what?
This is just an organic pet rock, isn't it? Naturally, it then compels her to exude violence on her peers.
Like, I like that idea. Okay, Miss Jack-o'-lantern said that we should, we should maybe get her back for that.
Not one to pass up an idea from an imaginary friend, False does unto others and does it tenfold. She builds a jack-o'-lantern of gargantuan scale over at Stress's place as if to account for the lack of Halloween decorations.
I need something Halloween-y themed because, yeah, it's Halloween. Alright, I was just about to do something. Then I spot that go!
Stress is impressed with the attention to detail, but all that orange is a little bit too high contrast out there in the icy blue of the frozen ocean. So, with barely a second thought, she chugs a potion of strength, hoists it above her head, and plonks it down on the other side of the world in the gaming district.
Can I actually pick this potion of strength?
We don't do this often, but can we put out a call for someone to draw fan art of this moment, if only to appreciate the image of someone carrying a pumpkin 64 times their size? Thanks. Anyway, the relocated Mr. O'Lantern is going to be repurposed as the entrance to Stress's new Halloween-themed minigame, loosely inspired by British 90s game show The Crystal Maze, as if this episode couldn't get any better. The contestants' first challenge will be a Guess the Song game, in which they have to correctly identify 3 spooky melodies in order to progress to the next room.
Let's go.
The note blocks are right up her street, but the combination lock required to open the door is not. So by setting up a mysterious trap inspired by his friendly prank on her last week, Stress prods Iskall into wiring up the door for her.
Don't look down. You got this. I fear the unknown. Fancy helping me with some redstone?
It's not the only project Iskall has been prodded with this week, but after exploiting the librarian trading loop to make acquiring emeralds completely trivial, he probably wanted the challenge. It's also worth reminding ourselves of what happens when you don't have the bookshelf and the book trade.
I mean, that is quite ridiculous. That must be abused.
His other redstone request comes from Grian, who wants to be able to conceal some beacons, fill a room with potentially deadly traps, and then try not to die in all of them. Yes, in another plan to survive this fun game he started, Grian has decided to wait it all out in a bunker of sorts. Judging by Poultryman's cave being all cobwebbed and the giant egg he held so dear being cracked, nowhere is safe. So Grian turns to the one thing he can trust, diamonds.
This can be a safe house for the long run. It's obviously going to take a long time to make something like this, but I thought, well, what better place to hide it than under the diamonds?
Of course, they would have to make quite a bit more profits to be able to fit a survival bunker in there, so Grian digs out an area underneath the spare change jar. And just in time too, now that the winnings of Demise are displayed at the sign-up board, people are much more likely to start going after their fellow hermits. Cleo has a similar plan, though her hidey hole is much more humble. But it's by design, as she really just wants to nomad it out, hoping no one will be able to guess where she is.
Basically, I've abandoned ship. Yay! It's a very weird situation, but yes.
Keeping in the tradition of her last episode, she actually brings up another thing from the dead. The old dirty Molly her base was pranked with returns in the secret underground grotto beach. Even the authentic jump scare pufferfish from the original makes an appearance.
Ow! Oh gosh. No, that's not allowed. I hate that fish. I've always hated that fish.
Cleo is still lured out from the undergrounds by the call of the armor stand, where Azuma has commissioned her to make a scene of the IDEA personnel karate fighting each other for whatever reason. And finally there's Mumbo, who keeps visiting the redstone shop despite his witch farm producing redstone. Except this time he actually wants the quartz-based components because he's got another absurdly long farm to build over at his supermassive witch hole. So he mines some quartz, gathers some mushrooms, steals some of Iskall's base, and reveals his master plan, to build a mushroom farm that will get him maybe half a stack of mushrooms every hour. When will these redstone marvels cease? He also reveals his strategy for Demise, which is to sign up and immediately go on holiday for a week.
That sounds right on my street. If anything, I really want to be dead as opposed to being alive. Now, the reason that my situation is so funny is because, as I say, I'm going away to the Philippines for 9 days. I'm not going to be on the server.
We'll see how that goes for him with the next recap, but at least with his new trading sale of stonemasons, he'll have plenty of options for the headstone on his grave.
So... We'll have to wait and see, I guess.
And that's just about it for this week's recap. Our writer is ZloyXP, and my name is Pixel Riffs. In the end screen theatre, you can watch Zloy get a dog and then lose a dog. RL Craft continues to be a cruel mistress. Don't forget to leave a like on this video while you're still here, and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.